So it's Halloween Day, and I thought, you know, let's talk about the Halloween trilogy, the new Halloween trilogy, the Blumhouse trilogy, because I did a spoiler and non spoiler review of Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, but I only did a non spoiler for Halloween Ends. And I think now this will be kind of like my spoiler review for Halloween Ends, even though it's going to be a review of the entire trilogy from 2018 Kills and Ends. And I'm going to tell you what the mistakes were that they made with this. But, so if you haven't seen Halloween Ends, it's on Peacock right now. If you have not seen it, go check it out. Come back. If you don't care about spoilers, that's okay. But I'm not going to go into, or I am going to go into spoilers, so you've been warned. Let's go ahead and get to it. So the purpose of this video is to outline the mistakes that I felt were made with the Blumhouse Halloween trilogy, which is Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. Now, the thing they got right is bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter to do the music. That they got right, and I feel like the look of Michael Myers, for the most part, was very well done. I thought that was good. The music was good. It wasn't a complete wash. Also, Halloween 2018 might not age as well as I had hoped, but it's still a pretty good movie and my favorite of the trilogy. You know, it was a good sort of reboot. They kind of did what H2O was trying to do, but better, into where it mirrored the original, but also followed up on it in a very effective way. And it felt the most like the original. Now, I knew that with this Halloween trilogy, they couldn't do that. They couldn't make Halloween Kills like the other ones because they're going off on a different direction as a trilogy. But 2018, I think, was very effective. Now, the issue, I think, comes mostly with Halloween Kills, because Halloween Ends, when you look at Halloween Ends objectively, the movie itself has a lot of problems, mostly because it has an identity crisis. It doesn't know what direction it wants to go in, and clearly there were multiple cooks in this kitchen, and they had issues figuring out a direction for these characters. And it goes from this really interesting story of this guy named Corey and this concept of what really is evil. And it's almost like Michael Myers was trying to pass on the evil to Corey. And he was able to do it only to a degree based on his own trauma and the way he was treated by, the citizens of Haddonfield. But with that being said, the movie then at the end just kind of abandons all that by having Corey do this honorable sacrifice where he shoots himself, and then he shoots himself, which you would think would be the end of he's dead, but then Michael Myers has to show up and choke him out. That's how I know there's multiple writers. I knew that before I even looked at the credit list, because how are you going to have a character die twice? The gunshot won't kill him, but Michael Myers choking him does. That's how you know there was conflict. And I think the problem here is the same thing that happened with the Star Wars trilogy, the sequel trilogy. It's the same thing. They had no direction. That's what it is. Point blank, end of story. Now, what's weird about this compared to that is if you remember, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, Force Awakens came out. It's kind of a reboot movie. Just soft reboot like Halloween 2018, same concept, bring back the old legacy characters, do something similar, get everybody hooked back in. That's fine. Then Last Jedi came along, took things in a whole different direction, and then The Rise of Skywalker, instead of having the balls to follow up in that direction but course correct, it tried to not only course correct but do it within a short time span and go all the way in the other direction. And all of that is a problem when making a trilogy. You could tell that these people were not writing the movies as far as it being a whole trilogy went. They didn't have a plan for a character arc spanning 3 films for Laurie. They didn't have a plan for a character arc for Laurie's granddaughter. They had no plan for Corey. If Corey had been introduced in 2018 and then it was followed up on here, at least you could bookend it. Right? If Corey had been introduced in Halloween Kills, you could still do something with it, but it didn't feel like a trilogy. It felt like 3 different movies they were making sequels of. It didn't feel like one consistent story. It felt like a reaction to a previous thing, just like what Halloween Kills was, because Halloween Kills, it upped up the gore and upped up the kills. It had the most kills of any Halloween movie because Michael Myers killed damn near half the town, right? Or something, like a big chunk of the neighborhood. And then at the end of the movie, we find out, or at least it's implied, that he gets powerful the more he kills. The more he kills, stronger he gets. And in the movie, he, he's super strong. He's able to withstand the attacks of the villagers or whatever, the people in the townspeople. And then Halloween ends. He's all of a sudden in a sewer, and he's gotten weak. And I'm like, why is he that weak? Oh, well, he hasn't killed in a long time. Yeah, but when he was locked, okay, how does that make any sense if in 2018 he was locked up for decades without killing, and then he gets out, kills somebody, and gets his mojo back? No, you can't sit there and say, oh, he didn't kill in a few years, is how he got weak. Weak enough so that Corey could manhandle him, weak enough so that Laurie could manhandle him by the end of the movie. It was dumb, dude. And I get that Michael Myers is kind of an old man in this movie, but the movie once again had this crisis because at one part it wanted to, like, Halloween Ends wanted to be this, like, story of, like, this romance that was, like, unfulfilled and star-crossed lovers. On the other hand, I wanted it to be this story of how evil can be, evil and bad behavior can be contagious, like the metaphor of the townspeople and what happened in 2018, 2019, 2018 film, not 2019, 2018 film. Like, that's what it wanted to do, but it also wanted to, like, tell this story of Corey becoming the new Michael Myers, but at the end it cowered its way out and went back to Michael versus Laurie because they promised that. It literally felt like that, dude. If they would have done a thing where maybe Halloween Kills would have been about Corey and Halloween Ends would have been the end of Corey and the final battle with Michael Myers, at least then it would have made a bit more sense to space it out. But they crammed so much, it really felt like Rise of Skywalker. Not as jarring as Rise of Skywalker, not anywhere close to being as jarring, but definitely it certainly had a lot of similarities as far as, oh my God, we have to cram this story in here and make it work, and it just didn't work. So once again, it goes back to, if you are writing a trilogy, make sure, and it's a trilogy, it's actually a beginning, middle, and end of a story, make sure you have all your ducks in a row, at least have your character arcs worked out at the beginning so that you know where you're going, as opposed to trying to figure it out as you go along. A trilogy is basically the arc of a story, and it has to make sense for it to work. It has to make sense for it to work. And because of that, it just doesn't work as a trilogy. A lot of folks love Halloween Ends. A lot of my friends like Halloween Ends. As a movie, it's not that bad. It's got some issues, like I mentioned, but it's not that bad. It's just in context of Halloween Kills and Halloween 2018, that's where problems come in. That's where the issues are. And so for Halloween Kills, they sat Laurie to the side and really made it, the Anthony Michael Hall show, and they overpowered Michael Myers, and they made it a thing where with Halloween Kills, they wanted to have like the highest kill count of the series to kind of just say we have the highest kill count, sort of like a high spot thing, like a spot fest to kind of show people like, hey, we're going to do a bunch of kills in order to cover up like a lack of a story. Basically sizzle with no steak. You know what I mean? More sizzle than steak, right? And then when Halloween Ends came along, they wanted to tell an interesting story about how one life event could change the course of your entire life. And they wound up going back to Michael at the end. So it doesn't work, yo. It doesn't work, and it suffers from too many writers wanting to do too many things and studios constantly being worried about pleasing everyone instead of just telling a story. At least if you tell a story, you can stand behind that story and say, okay, not everyone's going to like it, but it's my story. And that's not what I felt with the last two, at least. So to me, the best film of the three is still Halloween 2018. Halloween Ends is my second favorite, followed by Halloween Kills, but ultimately, just not a great trilogy overall as one big sort of story. Those are my thoughts on Halloween, the trilogy, and Halloween Ends spoilers. Hopefully you got something from this, and that's how I feel about it. Take care. Have a great one. I'll see you soon, and be safe today on Halloween.